Hi boys and girls, today we're going to order rational numbers using real-world applications. You will need your math journal and your pencil. Our learning target is 6.2D. I can order a set of rational numbers arising from mathematical and real-world context. Go ahead and set up your journal page. The title is 6.2D Real-World Application. We're just going to be using real-world scenarios to talk about how to order rational numbers. We're going to go through 4 examples, so you need 4 sections. Pause the video and get it set up, please. Number 1. Chris, Sam, Tom, and Andy worked on homework for an hour. The table shows how much time was spent on math homework. Order the time spent on math homework from greatest to least. I always underline what I am ordering. So I'm going to start with the greatest number. And then I look at the numbers and ask myself, how can I make them look the same? Well, I already have Andy, who is already in decimal form. So I'm going to write Andy's number over here. And then I'm going to start changing them to decimals. I know Tom is 1/2. 1/2 of 100 parts is 50. So I know that is 0.5. That's 5/10 or 50. Okay, 35%, I can use Dr. Pepper, move my decimal 2 places to the left, and that's 35 hundredths. And then I have 3/5. Remember, if you don't know what 3/5 is, you can always go back to division. 3 divided by 5, that's 0, add my decimal as 0. 30 divided by 5 is 6, and now I have 0 remainder. So Chris spent 6/10 of an hour. So once I have them written up and the decimals are lined up, I'm going to add trailing zeros. I want the same amount of zeros for each digit. That way I can compare them. And then I'm going to look at everything behind the decimal and compare them. Well, I can tell that this 600 is the greatest number, and that is Chris. So he is number 1. He is the greatest amount of time spent on math. The second greatest amount of time spent on math was this 500 number, which was actually 1/2. So Tom spent the second greatest amount of time on his homework. And then I have 355 thousandths and 350 hundredths. Well, 355 thousandths is 5 more, or 5 thousandths more. So I know Andy was number 3, and then Sam came in last with the least amount of time. So when you order them, it would be Chris, Tom, Andy, and then Sam. And I have now ordered them from greatest to least. Alright, boys and girls, number 2. Ron ate 3/8 of a pizza. Jane ate 20% of a pizza. Sam ate 1/3 of a pizza. And Rita ate 25 hundredths of a pizza. Which shows the names in order from least eaten to most eaten. So I'm going to look at these and I'm going to put them in decimal form. So I'm going to start with what I know. I know that Rita ate 25 hundredths of a piece. I know the next easiest one to work with would be 20%, because I can use Dr. Pepper. And I can move my decimal 2 places to the left to get a decimal, and that is 20 hundredths. I need to make this look more like a 5, I think. Okay, there we go. And this was Jane. So now I have Ron, who ate 3/8. I'm going to go ahead and work the problem as a division problem. 3 divided by 8. I'm going to add a 0, because 3 divided by 8 is 0, then a decimal, and another 0. 30 divided by 8 is 3, that's 24. I subtract 6 left over. I'm going to add another 0. 60 divided by 8 is 7, that's 56. Subtract, I have 4. Remember, I want a 0 remainder, so I'm going to add another 0. 40 divided by 8 is 5. 5 times 8 is 40. And now I have a 0 remainder. So I know that Ron ate 0.375. 375 thousandths. And now I have Sam. Sam ate 1/3. Some of you know the benchmark fraction for Sam. 1/3 would be 33 hundredths. But I'm going to do the math just to show you. 1 divided by 3. That's 0. Add my decimal. Add a 0. 10 divided by 3 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. I'm going to subtract. I have 1 left over. I'm going to add another 0. Wait a minute. I am getting 3 again. I'm just going to keep getting a 3. So this actually is 33 hundredths repeating. So Sam is 33 hundredths repeating. Once again, I'm going to add those trailing zeros because it makes it much easier to compare when I have the same number of digits behind the decimal. So now when I'm looking at it, remember I want to go from least to the most. So who had the least amount of pizza eaten? Out of these numbers, it would be Jane. So I'm going to write Jane's name down. Second least amount would be Rita. She ate 25 hundredths of the pizza. The next person who ate the least amount would be Sam. And then Ron ate the most. This is the order of your pizza from least to most. Alright, boys and girls, this is example 3 and we're talking about temperature. I gave you a visual of a thermometer to remind you the direction that vertical number line travels in. So remember, we have what's going on here? 0 degrees, and everything above it is positive. Everything below is negative. When we talk about temperatures from coldest to warmest, we have to remind ourselves what direction they're actually going in. So when it's 90 degrees, that is a positive integer, and it is above 0. That's really, really hot. And when we are below 0, it is getting colder. So let's put our numbers in order. So I have negative 8 degrees Celsius, negative 4 degrees Celsius, negative 6 degrees Celsius, and negative 10 degrees Celsius. Which one is further away from 0? Hopefully you said negative 10. Negative 10 is down here. And then as we move towards 0, we're backing up. We're counting in reverse. So then it would be negative 8, negative 6, negative 4. And then eventually we would get to 0. Alright? So when I write these in order from coldest to warmest, remember, the further down you go, the colder it gets. So it would be negative 10, negative 8, negative 6, and negative 4. This is the order you would write them in from coldest to warmest. Number 4. The Houston Texans 2019 draft class demonstrated their abilities at the NFL Combine. The players' time for the 40-yard dash are listed in the table below. So I want you to look at this table really closely. I want you to think about who has the fastest time. Is it the person with the bigger number or the person with the smaller number? Think about this. If it took me 30 minutes to run a mile and it took you 15 minutes to run a mile, who ran the fastest? Hopefully you said you did with 15 minutes. And 15 minutes is less than 30. So when we're looking at these, that's what we need to think about. Now remember, we want them all the same. And these happen to be all the same and they're lined up. But you'll notice that the whole number 4 is the same except for Titus. So Titus has 5.5 hundredths. He's actually going to be the slowest because he's at 5 seconds, whereas everybody else is at 4 seconds point something. So now I need to compare everything behind the decimal. So who has the smallest amount? Well, hopefully you said Xavier. And I'm going to put an X for Xavier. He's number 1. He's the first in place. The second person, and we're going to list who is in second place, would be the second smallest number, which would be Lonnie. And I'm going to put an L for Lonnie because he is at 4.52. And then after 52 would come 57, and that is Colin. So that he's number 3. And then number 4 would be, well, that's 92, 67. Well, 67 is smaller. So he's number 4. That's Cahel. And then, of course, I have to use that 0.92, which is Charles. And then in last place would be Titus. Now, by no means is he really in last place, because remember, these are the fastest 40-yard dash times listed. So this is the order that you would put your names in. Alright, boys and girls, I need you to use your strategies in your independent practice. 1, remember to change them to the same form. 2, line up your decimals if you're changing them to decimals. Do you have to change them to decimals? No, but if you do, sometimes it's the easiest way to compare them. If you have to add trailing zeros, remember to add those trailing zeros as well. If you have any questions at all, please ask your teachers for help. I want you to go ahead and stop the video, go back and rewatch it if you need to. Make sure your notes are complete, and then do your independent practice. You guys have a great day. Bye.